What has got to be the hardest thing in TFT? Besides yourself watching my videos? Well, in fact, it has to probably be the mid-game and how to manage your economy throughout set 9. And in today's video, we're going to go over rank 1 of, that's right, not North America. We're not watching another digital VOD today. I watch a lot and too many of those, and I share them too often on this channel. And in today's video, we're actually going to go overseas, over to EU West, and watch none other than rank 1 of EU West, solo, Gesang? Ginseng? Whatever, dude. I'm assuming it's a typo. It's probably ginseng. Anyways, the point is, let's go watch this video and watch how rank 1 EUS manages their economy much better than you do. Let's get on to today's video. Okay, so here we go. We are inside of one of Solo's game. I'm gonna call him Solo. It's just way easier for me. I'm gonna call him Solo. Inside of one of his games, this is rank 1 of EUS currently, and we are given Ecliptic Vault, Streaming Bazaar, and Scuttle Puddle. All three of these realms fucking lit. Like, Ecliptic Vaults, it's the one where whenever you pick an augment, you get 4 gold. Or, well, it depends on the number of augments you have. If you have 2, then you get 8, and you get 3, then you get 12. Streaming Bazaar, 2 components per carousel, and Scuttle Puddle, well, we all know Scuttle Puddle. So, out of all these 3 realms, as we will soon see, we are thrown into Scuttle Puddle inside of Bandle City. So, what is the game plan whenever we go into Scuttle Puddle? Scuttle Puddle, you should think of this realm as, hey, everybody has more money, leveling is expedited, people are hitting their interest caps faster. So think about how you can try to play around that and how we can sort of approach our leveling in a different way compared to what is sort of standardized in set 9 in general through other portals that don't have this economy buff, if you will, right? So whenever you're playing Scuttle Puddle, if you played set 8 and you know your standard intervals for set 8, you can kind of use that as a guideline, as a reference to think about, okay, whether or not, you know, level 7 or 3.5 is an opportunity, 4.1 level 8 is an opportunity, 4.2, right? And these things that are, you know, again, not very common whenever we are usually playing a set 9 because of the XP changes that occurred during the PBE. So here we are given a Garen out of the orb, and we're given 3 components. We're given the Hodge right off rip, right? You're not slamming Redemption ever here, or Guardbreaker. I mean, Guardbreaker's okay, but, I mean, 100% you definitely slam Hodge no matter what you get. And we're given into the 2-1 augments. We're given Portable Forge, Sleight of Hand, and Cybernetic Bulk. Sleight of Hand, in my opinion, is only good if you have a TG to slam right off rip. If you're given 2 crit gloves and you're given Sleight of Hand, take it. Really, really good in my opinion. It does average at 4.7. It's really low, but I think the average is low because people take it not knowing, or like not really thinking about like, hey, like maybe I can play around Lucky Gloves, or maybe I can play around, you know, this other sort of way, right? Making sure that you have opportunity available to lean into it and really get the most value out of it. That's when Sleight of Hand can be great. Obviously, like we just talked about, we don't have that as an option, so bulk or portable is one of the options that we can take here. But from 2-1, it's a little rough because, you know, cybernetics, we don't have a lot of components to play around. So, not really great to take cybers in the early game. So, Portable Forge is the only correct option really in this spot. We should obviously be rerolling the 2nd and 3rd augments here as well. Tactical Superiority and Martyr. Martyr. Right. Holy fuck. English is like my first language. I still don't know how to pronounce it. Tactical Superiority, Martyr, Portable Forge. So, Martyr, in my opinion, is nice. I personally really like it. It's like a free heal no matter what. You're obviously not guarding any value out of the augment unless one of your units die though, which is a little bit of an awkward interaction. It's definitely not as good as something like CB. Well, we don't have CB, so Harm Assist, if you will, or maybe even Healing Orb. I think Healing Orb is really, really strong. Martyr, is one of the least stronger healing augments. So nonetheless, though, very, very strong. But we do have a Hodge Slam on bench, right? That we're probably going to be slamming at 2-1. So we probably want to play Portable Forge instead and play around some sort of a carry with a Hodge portable item. And then we'll just be able to streak out the early game. So Portable Forge is still, across the board, the best option out of these 3 scenarios. As we see, he picks it up. And we're given Sniper's Focus, Triforce, and Randuin's Omen. Sniper Focus is, if you don't know already, basically an auto pick. Basically an auto pick. And why is it the case? It's the case because it works so well in so many comps. Azir, Aphelios, Zeri, all you snipers focus really, really well. It's actually one of their BIS. Really, really great to play. So now we're given a Sniper's Focus Hodge Slam, and our early game is crazy strong. We have the Renekton 2, the Talia, and a Cassiopeia. Now, here's a quick question for you. Which one of these which one of these units in the backline would you itemize here? Do you itemize the Cassiopeia, or do you itemize the Talia? Because both can use Sniper's Focus and Hodge. So which one are you going to be, which one would you slam here, right? The correct answer is going to be Cassiopeia. Why is it Cassiopeia? Cassiopeia is a very, very underrated one-cost carry. Incredibly underrated. So why is she so underrated though, right? And actually, in this case, I would slam Hodge, by the way. I don't know why he still hasn't done it. I would do it every single time. Cassiopeia is so strong for a multitude of reasons. First off, she is an invoker, very easy to tech onto your board, so you get the whole team-wide mana buff. So just team-wise, she's just really, really strong as a utility unit. But on top of that, she just has a really, really crazy synergy with Teemo. Obviously, we don't have a Teemo on our board yet, but I mean, Teemo's not a very hard unit to hit. So what's the interaction, right? Well, with Cassiopeia and Teemo wounds the board, right? He applies burn reduction, or what is it called? Healing reduction across the board with his AoE shrooms. Cassiopeia has a very interesting part of her toolkit where inside of her ability, if a target is already wounded, she will deal bonus damage. So you can synergize these two units together, and because you get the multicaster from Teemo and Talia on the board, now Cassiopeia is just dishing out a crazy amount of damage because the synergy is so great with Teemo. Obviously, in our 2-1, 2-2, and 2-3 fights, until we hit the Teemo really, it's not going to be as potentially strong as the Talia, but it's possible that even Cassiopeia 1 is just dishing out more damage than Talia would. Because of the lack of knockups that we have, right? Again, the only knockup that we have is with the Talia, and that's only when she can do damage. So Cassiopeia is the correct choice to be our item holder, and as you can see, like we said before, we are looking at a lot of Econ where we hit 20 gold at 2-4. We're going to be looking for, we're being really efficient with our money here, which is really, really great. So here we're sitting on Cassiopeia bench, or Cassiopeia pair on our bench, and what's the game plan? Well, the game plan right now, it should be pretty simple. We're just going to try to play for the Azir. It's pretty simple. Now we have the Cassiopeia 2, who's item holding for our Azir. Pretty perfect. And we actually have a duplicator that's sitting on our bench, which is also really nice. So because of this, we know for a fact that because it's also Scuttle Puddle, putting all these elements together, we know for a fact that Azir is going to be our choice. And we're going to fast 8 with the duplicator because all we need are 2 Azirs in order to hit our 2-star carry, which is really, really nice. So we're actually going to fast forward a little bit through the stage 2 because there isn't much to talk about besides that. Because quite honestly, throughout stage 2, it's very, very simple. He actually high rolls the Nasus here, which is kind of crazy. But he hits a really strong Bruiser frontline. And as you can see, based off his HP, he's able to preserve a lot because he's hit a pretty decent board during stage 2. And again, playing around the Shurima, playing around the Cassiopeia during early stage 2 is something that I don't see enough people doing. A lot of people are defaulting onto the Ionia Jhin, which is probably the strongest early game board. Granted, that is true. But don't sleep on Shurima. It's very, very strong in the early game. And if you hit the Azir and you play into the Azir, it can be really, really strong throughout the mid and end game. And you can actually end on Azir with no problem. So here, as we can see, we're level 5, 62 gold. We also natural the Teemo 2 out of the orbs. That's quite a high roll. We were talking about that earlier. What are you doing in this spot? What are you doing in this spot? Clearly, we level. We level, and we tuck in the Teemo because we got it for free. But if we didn't get the Teemo, we would roll a little bit here to try to take it onto our board. It's definitely stronger than any of the other Shurima units that we have in play. Because, again, the synergy with the Talia and the Teemo is really nice with the multicasters. And this Nasus, I mean, he's not itemized. He's not going to do much. But for now, we're just going to have him sit on our bench. So, as we can see here, 3 Shurima, really, really good spot to be in. And we're just cruising. The fact that we don't have to roll out all on 6 is crazy. It's crazy. Typically, if you didn't have, the units you're looking for, you got to roll on 6 to maintain tempo. But Saul is very lucky, and he's able to just maintain his tempo without having to do so. Now we're getting the 3-2 augments, right? Small Forge, Army Building, Unified Resistance. Obviously, it's not Army Building. Army Building is just such a shit augment. It's just not very good. Plus, there's not really any, 3 stars, that we would want to, immediately 3-star that would, incredibly spike our board, right? Or not 3 stars, sorry, 3 costs. Not that great. Obviously not, so we're going to reroll it. We're also given Unified Resistance. In my opinion, Unified Resistance is really strong. It's almost an auto-take augment every time. But, as we can see on our current board here, if we want to maintain Invoker, we would have to we'd have to position 2 and 4, right? We also do have the Galio, though, that's sitting on bench here. And quite honestly, in my opinion, I would take Unified Resistance here because it's a very, very strong augment. You get to play 3 front, 3 back, and you get to play the Invoker anyways with Galio. So in this spot, I would actually argue Unified Resistance is the way to go. We do roll here on the left side. We do see red buff here. And right now, Unified Resistance is still the way to go because like we talked about earlier, red buff in this spot would be redundant. It would be redundant because we know for a fact that Cassiopeia gives us burn. And that is a bit of, it's a bit of a redundant thing to do, right? But here, as you can see, this is really interesting too. He decides to not play the Teemo Talia, and instead he plays the Juggernauts with the Nasus on his board. In my opinion, this is a mistake. I think you are missing out on a lot of damage if you play the Teemo 2 and the Talia on your board, because not only do you get the burn across the board, the extra damage from the Cassiopeia, but also just the CC from the Talia. This 2 Juggernaut is not providing a lot of value besides just a little extra front line, and that little extra front line probably does not provide more value than having the Teemo Talia on his board. As you can see, he actually techs back into it, which, in my opinion, really smart choice here. I do think he should play the Galio over the Nasus in this spot though, but instead what does he do? He Bebe levels to 7 here, which is fucking genius. It is so smart. Why is this so smart? Now, let's talk about it, right? Sorry, I keep pausing the video. He decides to level here to tech into 5 Shurima, right? Because this is his strongest board. And you might be going, well, what's the reasoning behind leveling here? Well, one, he's on a streak. Maintaining this streak is really nice. But on top of that, we said this before, and I'll say it again. If you can maintain 30 gold after you level, more often than not, it's probably a good idea to level. You're basically paying a little extra gold to play up a Fawn for 1 extra turn, but that means, that's like, hey, I'm basically playing up a Prismatic against you for this 1 turn, like, suck a dick, you know? It's so strong. So, what he does here, by leveling to 5, also helps him create Econ, because now he has a reason to sell the Galio, sell the Soraka, so he doesn't have to worry about the Invokers anymore, and chilling at 5 Shurima, and his board is still really strong, he's able to maintain a lot of tempo. We do have the action here as well, the tier 1, and as soon as we find another one, duplicate it, really good board. And again, we don't have to roll on 7 here at all. We might have had to roll on 7 if our board was weak and we were losing a lot of tempo, but as we can see with the Sniper's Focus and the Hodge and Cassiopeia, plus again the burn damage synergy with Teemo, we are just wiping boards, and our board is so strong. The Cassiopeia, I don't know if you saw it on the right side, if you caught it or not, 3.8k damage. It's a lot of fucking damage. So again, don't sleep on this Cassiopeia unit. It's actually really strong. As we can see here, we duplicate the action, we find it within the next round, and we're chilling. We're 50 gold, level 7, 3/6, fast 8. Everything is going according to plan. So what is the plan? When do we level to 8? How do we spike our tempo, right? As we can see, our opponent here already has a Zir 2, which is nuts. Where the fuck did he find that, right? He found a Zir 2, which is a problem, because that's our game plan as of round, right? So what do we do in this spot? What's the game plan? Whenever you're contested, think about, okay, you have 2 options. Look for a look for a pivot. Maybe you'll tilt. Look for a pivot or contest. But how do you contest efficiently? That's something that you need to keep in mind. When you contest efficiently, you need to think about your level versus theirs. The guy that we just played into was level 7. Solo is also level 7. So trying to contest for the same 4-cost 2-star at level 7 is ridiculous. It's stupid, don't do it. So what are we going to do instead? We are going to fast 8, play around our win condition of a fast 8, and then look for the 2 Azirs here. We are going to start rolling down here on 8 because our increased odds will help us find our units even if they're contested, which is really great. Here, as we can see, he does also hold a couple of the other 4-costs that he finds, the Aphelios, the Zeri, the Kaisa, because maybe we don't have to actually play into Shurima. We can play into a different Sniper's Focus carry, such as the Aphelios, such as the Kaisa, etc. Totally both very viable. But as we can see, we don't find any Azirs. That's okay. We did 0 out. But here is something that's really interesting. Slams the Ginsu's here, right? He slams the Ginsu's here, slams the Vow. Really great. Vow is great for J4 if you ever find it. Super good. And we have the remover, so we can remove it later. But what does he do here? He sells the Zer, he sells the Kaisa, he's holding the Aphelios right now. He's already given up on both potentially finding the Kaisa and the Zeri 2 as potential pivots. And instead is thinking about, okay, what can I do instead? He's going to hold on to the Aphelios as a potential pivot as a transition unit, right? But also, we're going to econ back up. We have a lot of HP to play around in our board. Notice how he didn't rush the pivot. Our board is still the same board that we had during Stage 3, but it's not like it's any weaker than anything else that's given to us. We're still playing for the Azir, ideally, but instead of like rushing the pivot, going, oh, we low rolled, what are we going to do? We're going to keep donkey rolling on 8? No. Look at the HP lead that we've built up for ourselves. Our board is still strong. Don't sleep on these 1 cost, these 2 cost, these 3 cost carries that you can still play, even potentially during stage 4. If your board is still strong during stage 4, don't just pivot out of it for no reason. Think critically and assess your position. So here we're given 4-2 augments. We're given job well done, long distance pals, and know your enemy. Now, these are all pretty good. Long distance pals is annoying to play around, especially if you're playing this with unified resistance. Well, actually, unified resistance doesn't really matter, but it's just kind of a bitch to play around. You're actually, with unified resistance, you're actually forced to play within the same rows, so you're actually clumping your units even further. So it's actually a bit of not great synergies. It provides a lot of stats, really, really strong, but it's a bitch to position around. Personally, I don't like playing it unless I'm forced to. But we're also given know your enemy and job well done. Now, these are both fine options. Know your enemy, I don't even think is bad. Here, personally, I would reroll long distance because I have 2 other decent options as well. And as we'll see here, I think he's considering long distance palace here. I don't think he ends up taking it though, because know your enemy, job well done, they're still fine. Averages are slightly worse, but considering his spot, probably don't want to be running it anyways. Rolls, hits, loving, whatever the fuck. Not very great. Don't really want it. Probably going to roll over here. And then we don't hit anything good as well, so we're taking know your enemy. Totally fine as well. So now we're sitting here, and notice how he's not panicking. He has no reason to panic, to be fair. But some people, like myself, may see this spot as like, holy shit, what are we gonna do? We still don't have any Azirs. It's already stage 4. People who rolled on 7 to hit their 4 costs were kind of fucked against them. How do we contest against this lobby where we're scouting and we see so many affiliates, there's so many Kaisas taken out? And actually, funny enough, if we go back and we're looking, he's scouting again. The Azir player gave up on the Azirs, which is very, very lucky. But even if the Azir player didn't, we would still be doing and enacting the same game plan. Now, like I said before, we have a lot of HP to work with here. We were able to garner up that lead throughout the early to mid game. So we want to stay on our board and be efficient with our money. We're probably going to... I would install the Scion here, make 30, to be completely honest with you. But he doesn't. That's totally fine. Maybe his read is that Scion 2 is just a giga unit that he can maybe potentially hit. But I think the potential for that happening is too low. So actually, I feel like this is also something I wouldn't have done. And I probably would have sold the Scion to make 30 here. But I'm being very nitpicky. Again, we're saving up. We're probably going to roll down, not on this turn, but again on 5-1. The only time we would ever roll at 4-5 here, well, I disagree, but, you know, that's actually so funny. I disagree. I would not have rolled on 4-5 here, and I would actually sack 2 more. I would have sacked 2 more in this position. Why is that? The only time before I was interestingly cut off, I would have rolled on 4-5 here is if I had at least 1 Azir. If I had at least 1 Azir, I would just roll for the last one and just try to hit it. But I guess to solo, he thinks that he has good enough odds to hit him because the other guy in the lobby already gave up on the Azirs. So if that's the case, then surely enough, it is okay to maybe roll a little bit here. But in my opinion, you might as well just go the extra 2 rounds because you're probably going to lose the next 2 anyways. And it's not like your board is that much stronger. And in fact, it actually might be a bit weaker because you decided to tech into the Azir instead of keeping that Action 2 on your board. So, I don't know. It's a bit iffy in my opinion. I don't think I would have done the same thing here. I think I would have just kept building up the Econ for a much, much larger roll down at 5-1. But maybe for him, he's maybe getting a little anxious with the tempo of the lobby. Definitely happens in a lot of higher elo games, and you're a little worried about how people are spiking their boards so quickly, and then you might be lagging behind now. Because even though we were doing so well in the early game, and our board was so strong relatively to the lobby, now we're definitely weaker than most people, especially for a stage 5 board. So, here's another question here for you, though. We're 77 gold. Level 9 is within 70 gold. If we wanted to, we could push 9 right now. Most of you have been here long enough that you know that that is not the correct answer. Level Fast 9 could have maybe been a potential possibility in this spot, but why is it not correct? It's not correct because if we go to level 9, we will only have 7 gold to roll. And if we were to econ more and then go 9, it's risky. It is risky. On top of that, we don't even know what our next in is. Maybe some sort of legendary, we're not really sure. But it's a very risky play to make that isn't, you know, we're not guaranteed that it's 0-2 at 9. It's possible that we low roll on 9 and then we just go fucking 6th. And that would suck. So instead, what he does is that he rolls here and rolls pretty deep, trying to hit the Azir 2, trying to spike his board a bit more. Still playing around the 5 Shurima, looking for that Nasus 2. Looking for maybe a replacement for the Sejuani as well, because Sejuani means that you're playing into the Renekton on your board for the Shurima, but ideally you want to be playing Cassante with some sort of like other, other units such as Shen, right? Demacia 2. Sorry, I keep calling J4 Demacia. It's J4, right? But this is just really well played by Solo, though. To be completely honest, it's a very well played game by Solo because he was very efficient with his money and knew how long he could hold the line before he could have to be forced to roll down again, right? He rolled down basically down to 0. We're sitting on 2 Azirs right now, 1 in shop and 1 on bench, but we are now chilling again, and then maybe we can go back up to 9, right? Save up, but now that our entire board is 2-starred, we should be chilling with a pretty decently comfortable top 4. We're still sitting on Cassiopeia 1 and a Shen 1, Renekton 1. That's okay, though. It's fine. It happens. Still, very, very decent spot to be sitting on. And nonetheless, we have... The only upgrades we're looking for left are really just the Cassiopeia. Again, Renekton, Shen. It's not very efficient to roll on 8 here, right? Think about your rolling efficiency. Make sure that if you're going to roll at a specific level, think before you roll. What am I looking for? Is it efficient for me to roll for my money here, or should I just level to 9, right? Or should I save up to go to the next level, right? And as we can see here, really, really strong fundamentals, really, really just showcasing what is important here. And actually, funny enough, what would you take in this spot, right? What would you take in this spot? Because there's a top 4 answer and a play for first answer here. Top 4, you take Shroud. Every time you take Shroud, right? But here, we see Solo going for the play for first option, which he picks up a Rabadon's, an item that is completely useless on his board, but gives him the Azir too. And now, we're sitting on 6 Azirs. Do you see where I'm going with this? We're now no longer looking for a level 9 out. We're now looking for a Azir 3 out. And we can do this because we were efficient with our money and never found a good enough reason, really, to use this duplicator to spike for tempo. Solid foundations. And you might be going, oh, he's just a dirty high roller like the other guy, like gave up on the Azirs, like he got really lucky. Oh, he found the early Cassiopeia 2 and that early Nasus during stage 5. Dude, that early Nasus didn't do jack shit. It didn't do jack shit. And on top of that, he was so efficient during stage 4 with his money, knowing not to roll, even though a lot of people made Donkey roll on level 8 in that situation, to try to find these Azirs. He's showcasing that throughout, from the beginning to the end of the game. He's been efficient and thinking critically about his position, like 99% of the time. There are a couple times I disagreed with that 4-5. A little shaky in my opinion, that he rolled like 10-inch gold, but I mean, I guess you can roll like 10 gold there if you're willing to like sack 1 level of interest to, maybe potentially find an Azir. Fine, sure. But nonetheless, his position is he's only really in this spot because he was efficient with his money, right? You could call him a dirty high roller or whatever, but at the end of the day, he showcased that he knew what he was doing, playing around his economy and playing around, knowing how to play for his outs and knowing how much he needs to roll and how much he can hold the line, how much he can just push to keep trying to make those interest levels whenever he can. As we can see here, we are now down to, 26 HP. It's still possible for us to, go 5th in this spot, but we've already committed to potentially playing for this Azir 3 out. Unfortunately, there is one person in the lobby who is holding an Azir, so it may be slightly harder for us to hit, but nonetheless, we're still going to be trying to look for it. We did roll down after hitting 6-1 and, saving up for a bit more, but somehow this man naturals the last and final Azir, and he can just duplicate it and basically win out the game. I'm going to put this at 4x speed because this is basically all there is left to the game. Some asshole pings him to do something not very nice to himself. But, I mean, Azir 3, this game is basically over. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. When I was watching this, I did not make it past this point. As soon as I saw the Azir 3, I just assumed he won. There's a chance he may still lose. And why is that? It's because look at the other opponent here. Look at the other opponent here. The other opponent also knew that because Solo was playing for Azir 3, that he needs to go for 3-star forecast as well if he wants to try to win out the game. And this man, smart enough, Stanum's Lou, whatever the fuck his name is, hits Zeri 3. So now, folks, we're in a spicy-ass game. Quite a spicy-ass endgame. Where now we have the Azir 3 versus the Zeri 3. And Solo gets fucked up and wrecked. Now, it's funny because even though he does have the Azir 3 here, and Stan has Zeri 3, this Twitch Mimu guy doesn't have any of this shit. But because his HP preservation was so good, unfortunately, it's very possible that Solo goes third here. And actually, this guy hits the Kaisa 3. What an insane fucking game. What an insane fucking lobby. Here, actually, you know what? We'll play it at regular speed. Let's talk about it, right? Here, we are now fighting into a Kaisa 3 into the Ghost. The Azir 3 versus the Kaisa 3. It's about to go fucking down. Now, this is just fucking nuts. I think Kaisa 3 wins. That is my prediction here. I believe Kaisa 3 almost always wins out because he just clears the whole board. But it's very possible that maybe Azir 3 will clean out with the Shrima, the healing, and all that. Because this Kaisa 3... I was about to say that has no damage items, but she does too much damage, right? And unfortunately, Solo goes out with a third in this crazy, crazy high roll lobby. The only way he could have won out is if he had also done his own job to do a little bit more research, scout the other opponents, and make sure that nobody can win out his game. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys learned something. Happy climbing.